Dariush is going to stay where he is, and now it is my pleasure to introduce U.S. Member of Congress Vern Buchanan, who represents Florida's 16th Congressional District, and they are going to have a great fireside chat. Give them a round of applause, please.
So welcome to Congressman Vern Buchanan, who chairs the Ways and Means Subcommittee on Health. He's already proven himself a champion for thinking about food and nutrition through hearings, through actions, or really trying to push Congress in a bipartisan way to really think about nutrition and health. So in your role as chairman of the Ways and Means Subcommittee on Health, you've really tried to prioritize policies that improve access to address nutrition and health. Why is this important to you? Why are you, caring about this as a member of Congress?
Well, I was kind of Maha before everybody else was Maha, but I'll say that up front. But
the Maha OG.
Yeah. But what happened in my situation, I'm like a lot of people, you get in your 40s, your weight either goes up or down or whatever. And so I'm on this diet, that diet. So I finally started doing more and more research because people would tell me to do this and do that. And then I came up with the equation that I read in the book. And it was just simply, the top of the equation is the quality of the food. How is it real food? They measure it that way. And then the bottom part of the equation was calories. So what is the most nutritional food with the fewest calories? I lost 30 pounds and never looked back. I never had to think about it again because I made better choices. And now I see, I have 10 grandkids, 10 and under, and I'm so proud of my daughter-in-laws. I have 2 daughter-in-laws, 2 sons. They're very careful about what they're doing. So there's a lot of energy on this subject. People are finally really waking up. What is food? That's the question I have to ask you. But I know for my diet, it's a lot about plant-based foods as much as you can. And so there's a list you can pull from. And one guy measured every single food from top to bottom. Of course, broccoli and things are at the one side of it, and the other side, steamed broccoli and stuff. Ice cream might be on the other side. But I tell even my grandkids, I try to stay 80% more pure, more scientific, make better choices, and then I'll go out with a family like Memorial Day and we'll have fun. But I'm much more careful about it. The second thing is I try to encourage. Everybody has a different background, but blue-collar kid out of Detroit, but I basically got into business many years ago, and it's important to set up the proper incentives that's one of my concerns about the industry. When you have fee-for-service, I don't know that's the right incentive for healthcare in general, and we're spending, $4.2 trillion on healthcare, and we're getting sicker as a society. So it's a lot of factors. So that's why I come back to, even when you say food is medicine, that sounds great, and I move that way, but the bottom line, you want to make sure it's good food, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think your comment about never looking back, once you actually understand and can access and can afford and can cook healthy, minimally processed foods, it actually tastes better, it's easier, it's not harder, and many of the panelists earlier talked about that. And actually, I would put...
The big thing is seasoning.
Good seasoning. I'd actually put ice cream kind of in the middle of that scale. Ice cream is actually a pretty healthy treat. It's got, some protein and some vitamins. I put bread, white bread, maybe at the bottom, white bread and candy. So I think it's terrific, your own personal story and your own commitment. You're one of the founding members of the Make America Healthy Again caucus, and I know that food is medicine is one of the planks of that. So can you talk a little bit about the caucus beyond your own role? What are the caucus's priorities here, and how is food is medicine going to play a role in what you want to do?
I think the food is medicine is one component. There's multiple sleep and other things you can get into, but the 2 huge components is that and fitness. And even I had a doctor tell some of his patients, I'm in Sarasota, Florida, but they'd come down from the Midwest and Northeast, and he was a private physician. He's telling me that a lot of them come in, they're 65, they're on 5 pills, and he says to them, how would you like to get off those pills? He said, Doc, what do you mean? I can't. Would you like to get on them? He says, no, I can't. What are you saying? He said, I want you to start walking 2 miles a day, 5 days a week, and in a month, 6 weeks, I'll take you off probably half of what you're on. So it's a combination of really fitness, and we've got things we're doing in Congress, the FIT Act, that we're trying to do to make businesses and others more incentives to for their employees. And I had, like I said, 1,200 employees, and you go look at our businesses, we have gyms in there and activity things because you get a better employee, and it's better for them, and it's better for their family. So I think those are the two big components. The other thing that concerns me is when you look at the whole thing, what's happening, diabetics and obesity. They say the average person is 60% of people are obese, and maybe it's 50%, take the number, whatever number you want. But the thing that's alarming to me, I mentioned I have 10 grandkids, is 20% of children are obese. That's a problem, not just today, but in the future. We're going in the wrong direction. So I'm very passionate about a lot of these different things, but it boils back down, and that's why I want to work with your organization and others about how we can move this forward. And even if we can just move it some, there'll be a big difference because we can't keep afford paying the bills that we're paying out right now. We need people, and I'll say the other thing is you need to be the CEO of your own health. You can't rely on all the other professionals. You got to be the CEO of your own health, and that to me, that mindset made a big difference. One basic thing I've always done since I was 40, someone talked me into it, is get a physical every year, January. That's part of my New Year thing, and then maybe get tweaked here and there, some adjustments. But that makes a big difference. I'm very, very big on prevention, and another friend of mine said to me that 50% of people that have their first heart attack don't see the next day. Now, that was a while back, but I thought to myself, how do I not get in that scenario in the first place? I don't like those odds. So there's a lot of things like cancer and heart disease and other things I think can be more minimized than where it's at. We can move in another direction. I'm convinced of that, not with everybody, but I think with most.
Yeah, as a cardiologist, I'll echo that. It's gotten a little bit better with urgent care and emergency rooms, but about 1 in 3 people who have their first heart attack die. So it's really, that's their wake-up call, is the last call they get. Those are still bad odds, yeah. And you mentioned children. I have a 12-year-old, a 14-year-old, and a 16-year-old, and I've explained to them, and my wife, who's in nutrition research as well, I've explained to them that the odds are stacked against them. They have almost a 2/3 lifetime risk of developing type 2 diabetes and a 2/3 lifetime risk of developing obesity, given the current trajectory that the nation is on. That's just unacceptable. They're more likely to be sick than to be healthy future in their life. So,
and that gets back. I just say with our family, the daughters and that, they're starting to watch more things, and the husbands and stuff. And there's more talk about it in various groups. And I'm so excited to hear that because I was like a guy in the desert. They thought I was too far to write on some of this stuff. But it does make a big difference what's going on today, and we've got to do everything we can.
Yep.
And that's why I'm going to have a lot more hearings. In fact, one hearing had the senator from Tennessee that came in, and he says, you know what, I've written a lot of prescriptions for, he was a heart surgeon. He said for surgeries and prescriptions and stuff like that. He said after 30 years of practice, but I never wrote a prescription for food.
yeah, Senator Bill Frist, yeah.
Bill Frist,
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we've had 2 veterans on the panels earlier today who both either participated in or led Food as Medicine programs. I'm really, really, really excited about the legislation you introduced, really down to the details, to direct the Secretary of Veterans Affairs to establish and carry out demonstration programs to provide medically tailored meals and medically tailored groceries to eligible veterans. Can you talk about that bill and how it can help address the health of veterans in our nation?
I went in the Air Force when I was 18, and I remember they had an area where if you were way overweight over there. Now, it's like close to 30%. The young men, young women don't qualify, can't get into the service because of that. And it's to me, it's a national security issue just as well as anything. So we've got a bill that we've introduced to try to start working with a lot of different veterans and that to try to get them in a better eating position. And a lot of times, like someone says, you can't eat it. You can't, if you eat a lot of the wrong stuff, it'll screw everything up in the fitness and everything else. So anyway, our bill, we've got a lot of co-sponsors on it. It's something we're passionately pushing with veterans and people looking to get in the military once they get in. And I feel very excited about that.
I think that's wonderful. And your committee last year, with over almost a unanimous majority, passed out the medically tailored meals in Medicare bill that has been championed by bipartisan, and I hope that will also be considered. I think the other group that's really important.
Medicaid, we've got to do something too.
Medicaid as well, yeah.
Well, we got to do something there.
I think the other group that we haven't talked about today, but we should mention since we talked about veterans, is the DoD, the Department of Defense, right? The warfighters should get the best possible food. Their families should get the best possible food. There's a lot of people who are actively serving in our military and their families who have diet-related chronic diseases. That should be completely outrage all of us and be sure that they get access to food as medicine.
They haven't been getting it, but we're going to change that.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. Well, I thank you for your leadership on this issue, and thank you for coming in, and we really look forward, everyone in this room looks forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.